أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. And welcome to another one of your G2 classes. I hope and pray that today everyone is doing well, and jazakumullah to everyone for arriving to the class today on time. As always, we are going to start off our class with an opening prayer. And if I can please request our co-host to call a student to the mic. Assalamu alaikum, co-host.
Wa alaikum assalam. Could we please have G2726 on the mic?
Jazakallah. G2726. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. So would you like to start off with the Awud and Tasmiyah? And then I will lead you into the recitation for the prayer, okay?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, well done. Now if you'd like to repeat after me. Rabbi
Rabbi
zidni
zidni
ilma.
ilma.
Well done. Try and give the sound of ayn from the middle of the throat, yeah? Ilma.
Okay. Ilma.
Perfect. Much better, much better. Would you like to read out the English translation for me?
Oh my Lord, increase my knowledge.
Perfect.
Gain my knowledge.
Yeah, perfect. And that's Surah Taha, verse 115. Jazakumullah G2726. MashaAllah, that was very nicely recited. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz. Okay, so just before we move on to our daily schedule, let's just take a look at our etiquette, okay? Please make sure you have done your ablution. Make sure you're wearing your clean clothes, and also make sure that your head is covered, okay? Make sure you're sitting in a quiet place to eliminate any sort of background noise or distraction. And make sure you have a parent present as well, okay? Just to help you if need be. Also make sure you've signed in with the correct IDs, as only correct IDs will be called to the mic. Use this time right now to just quickly go into the participant list, find yourself, and if you happen to have signed in with the incorrect IDs, use the rename facility to rename yourself to the correct ID so that you're able to be called to the mic, okay? Now, having said that, let's take a look at our schedule for today. So we've just done our opening dua. Today, the rule that we're going to be focusing on is nasalization, the rule of nasalization. And that may sound like a very long, hard word to pronounce, but the rule is actually not hard. It's fairly easy. And inshallah, if you pay close attention today, the rule will be very easy and you'll understand it very quickly as well. After teaching you the rule, we are going to be practicing Surah An-Nas in particular. And if we have time, we'll go over Surah Al-Bayyinah, which is chapter number 98. Then we will also look at the letter of the day. We'll do some more practice, and then we will conclude our class. I'll set you all some homework to do, okay? So let's just start off with our rule in focus. Let me just quickly share my screen. Okay, if I can just confirm with our co-host, is the screen sharing for the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yeah, it's fine, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Jazakumullah. So in today's PowerPoint, we are going to be talking about what nasalization is, and what the 6 easy steps are when we are applying the rule of nasalization. And then inshallah, we will also be covering an example of Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. Now, a quick heads up, just to sort of ease your way into this rule. This rule is all to do with shadda. Now, remind yourself now what shadda is. So a shadda is a W-looking sign. Okay, it's like a small little W sign that sits on top of a letter. And its job is to combine letters together. But with nasalization, we're doing something similar, but there is something very special about nasalization, which we will be covering today, okay? Now, let's start off with what is nasalization? Well, nasalization is an English word, and the Arabic word for nasalization is GHUNNAH, okay? GHUNNAH is the Arabic word. Now, GHUNNAH is a sustained nasal sound. It's a sustained nasal sound. A nasal sound is a sound that comes from your nose, and GHUNNAH is known as a sustained nasal sound. The rule with GHUNNAH is that it must not be prolonged for less than 2 seconds. So you shouldn't sustain the nasal sound for less than 2 seconds. It should be at least 2 seconds or more. Okay? Now, the rule of GHUNNAH involves Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. We will give a sustained nasal sound on Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. This is where GHUNNAH will be applied. Mim Mushaddad is the letter Mim with a shadda on top, and Nun Mushaddad is the letter Nun with a shadda on top. Okay, so Mushaddad is just the letter that carries a shadda. And when we are talking about GHUNNAH, nasalization specifically, we are talking about Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. So in the future, when your teacher asks you, remind me of the 2 GHUNNAH letters, you will say Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. So these are the 2 letters we are going to be looking at today. And nasalization is a special case of tashdid. Okay, it's slightly different from tashdid. You have the same steps involved as you would if you were if you were applying the rule of tashdid, but there is one extra check, there is one extra step to nasalization. And today, inshallah, you'll be able to find out what it is. Now, before we move on to nasalization, let's quickly remind ourselves of tashdid, okay? What the rule of tashdid is and how we should be applying it within our daily recitations, okay? First of all, whenever you're reading the Quran and you need to identify or read or apply your knowledge of tashdid, you need to be able to identify the mushaddad letter. You need to know which letter it is that's got that W sign on top, that's got that shadda or tashdid on top. Once you have identified the mushaddad letter, you need to identify the vowelled letter. So the vowelled letter is, in Arabic, we call it the mutaharrik letter. And this letter carries either a fatha, dhamma, or kasra on top or underneath. So number one, you need to identify the mushaddad letter, the letter that's got the tashdid on top. Then step 2 is to identify the vowel letter, the most recent mutaharrik letter. Step 3 is to join letters together. If you remember rightly, at the beginning I said the whole point of having a tashdid is to join letters together. So in this case, you've spotted a letter with a tashdid, you've spotted a mutaharrik letter, a vowel letter. Then step number 3 is to join these letters together. So join the mushaddad letter and the vowel letter together, and ignore any strokes or any sort of letters in between. But at this point, when you're joining the vowel letter and the mushaddad letter together, you're not focusing on the stroke that is on top of a mushaddad letter. Okay? In other words, whenever you're reading the Quran and you see a mushaddad letter, for example, a noon, it's got a shadda on top, for example. It's not just going to be a noon mushaddad, just a noon with a shadda. It's going to have some form of stroke on top. It's either going to have a shadda and a fatha, a shadda and top of and on top of a shadda there would be a dhamma, or there would be a noon mushaddad and a kasra underneath. So there will always be a stroke indicating what sound you are going to make. Okay? But at step 3, we are not looking at the stroke for now. Okay, so you just need to identify that you need to join these letters together. Once you know that you're going to join these 2 letters together, you're going to look at the stroke. Now this time you're looking at the stroke and you're going to see, well, what stroke does the mushaddad letter have on top? Is it a fatha, is it a dhamma, or is it a kasra? And then accordingly, you will make the right sound, okay? And then the last step is to press everything, to press on the mushaddad letter. Okay, so when you combine the letters together, you're going to press on top of the mushaddad letter. You're going to put pressure on it, more emphasis on it. Okay. Now, let's practice the rule of Mim Mushaddad. Okay. So here is our first example. Remember, step 1 was to identify the mushaddad letter. So here we have identified the mushaddad letter, and we know that Mim is the mushaddad letter. And as I was saying, that it will have a stroke on top, what I meant is that there will be the letter with the shadda, and then it will have a stroke on top. Okay, so always look out for that stroke, but that's step number 4, remember. Okay, now that we've identified the mushaddad letter, we need to identify the most recent vowel letter. In this case, it's the ha. The ha has got the fatha on top, and so it's the most recent vowel letter. Once we have identified both the mushaddad and the vowel letters, we need to join the 2 letters together. So we join the 2 letters together, but at this point we are ignoring the stroke on top of the mushaddad letter. As you can see, there's no fatha here, and that's because just for step number 3, we are just ignoring the stroke temporarily. Okay, so we will join the letters together. So in other words, the mim is going to join to the ha. And then you need to ask yourself a very, very important question. Okay? The important question is that the letter that is the mushaddad letter, is it a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad? Okay? So in this case, it was a Mim Mushaddad, right? With the Mim Mushaddad, remind yourself that we said Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad are GHUNNAH letters. Okay, they're GHUNNAH letters. And so, yes, in this case, Mim Mushaddad is a GHUNNAH letter. And so we are not going to give less than 2 seconds on this letter. Okay? And then, now that you've found out that Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad are GHUNNAH letters, and you figured out in this particular example, we're looking at Mim Mushaddad. Now that you've figured out what the stroke is on top, then you need to make the right sound. So it's got a fatha, it's going to be a ma sound. Okay, here we can see the fatha on top. And then at the end, you put everything together. Remember, emphasize the mushaddad letter. Hamma. So can you guys hear? I'm putting a lot of pressure on the mim. I'm emphasizing on that letter, okay? Because it's one of our GHUNNAH letters. I'm giving a sustained nasal sound. Hamma. Okay? So that is the rule with Mim Mushaddad. Now, I did mention at the start that everything, the rule of nasalization and the rule of tashdid are very, very similar. There is just one extra step when it comes to nasalization, and that is the difference between GHUNNAH or nasalization and just tashdid. And this extra step is to find out whether you are seeing a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad. And if you are seeing a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad, then you know you need to give a sustained nasal sound and apply the rule of GHUNNAH or apply the rule of nasalization, how we say it in English. Okay, so that is just the extra step. The extra step is just to identify, can we see a Mim Mushaddad? Can we see a Nun Mushaddad? Is it one of our GHUNNAH letters? That's all we're doing. So now let's just read everything together. Muhammadun. Muhammadun. So here, you're giving a sustained nasal sound on the Mim Mushaddad. Why? Because it's one of our nasalization letters. Now, we've already practiced Mim Mushaddad. Let's take a look at Nun Mushaddad now. Okay, so here is our example. Okay, this is what we are going to be focusing on. Now, as always, step number 1, you need to identify the mushaddad letter. Okay? In this case, the mushaddad letter is this Nun Mushaddad that is just been circled here. Okay, so this is the Nun Mushaddad. Step number 2 is to identify the most recent vowel letter or the most recent mutaharrik letter. And in this case, it's vowel. So vowel has got a dhamma on top, and therefore it's the most recent vowel letter. Step 3, remember, is to simply just join the letters together. However, up to this point, we're not going to focus on the stroke on the noon. All we know is that because it's got a shadda on top, we're going to join the letters together. So at this point, we're going to say one, but I've stopped it there because we are ignoring the stroke. Okay? Here, we're going to end up joining the Nun Mushaddad to the vowel. So here we are combining. And then remember the extra step that I just spoke about. The extra step is ask yourself, is this a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad? Well, it is. This is Nun Mushaddad. And so we're going to give a ghunnah sound for not less than 2 seconds. For at least 2 seconds. Okay? Step number 5 was to look at the stroke on the Mushaddad letter. Okay, so we're going to look at the stroke on the Mushaddad letter and make the right sound. And in this case, it's a fatha. Okay, so we put everything together, but make sure to put emphasis on the Mushaddad letter. So we're going to say GHUNNAH. Now I can complete the sound of the noon. Why? Because I can incorporate the symbol or the stroke that is on top of the Nun Mushaddad. Okay, now let's read the example. لَتَرَوُنَّ. So as you can see, I'm putting a lot of time, or I'm pressing on top of this noon, but I'm giving a sustained nasal sound for at least 2 seconds. Now, we have found out what nasalization is. We have gone through the practice of Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad, as these are our nasalization letters. Now let's take a look at the 6 easy steps that we spoke about when we were practicing Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad. Let's just quickly recap them one last time. Okay? So, 6 easy steps in nasalization. Number 1 is to always identify the letter. Okay, the Mushaddad letter. In this case, it's this meme here. Okay. Step 2 is to identify the vowel letter. And in this case, it's the ha, as it's got the fatha on top. Okay. Step number 3 is to join the letters together. However, at this point, we are only thinking about combining the letters. We are ignoring any sort of stroke that is on top of the Mushaddad letter. So, because of the Shadda, we're going to join these 2 letters together. And step 4 is to check. Ask yourself, is it a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad? In our case, it is. So we're going to give at least a 2-second ghunnah sound. If it's not a Nun Mushaddad or a Mim Mushaddad, then we need to not do the ghunnah sound. Okay? So here we are. And step number 5. You need to look at the stroke that's on the Mushaddad letter. And you need to make the right sound accordingly. Okay? So, since there is a fatha, we're going to put everything together and we're going to give the right sound. We're going to end up saying ham. Okay? So this was the rule of nasalization. If there are any questions and you are called to the mic, you can feel free to ask me, okay? Now, let's do a bit of practice now with our Quranic text. Hopefully you can all see the screen here. So we're going to call students one by one to come to the mic, and then inshallah, we're going to practice Surah An-Nas and Surah Al-Bayyinah if we have time. Okay, so co-host, may I please have our student to the mic?
G2606.
Okay, perfect. Student G2606, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Did you understand the rule today?
Yes.
Perfect. Was everything making sense?
Yes.
Do you know what the two Ghunnah letters are?
Yes. Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad.
Good, well done. Seems like you were listening. Really, really good. Well done, G2606. I'm very impressed. Now, let's look at this surah, Surah An-Nas. Would you like to start off with Ta'awud and Tasmiyah?
Okay.
And then we can start reciting this together, okay?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Perfect. Would you like to start off from the first verse for me?
Okay. قل أعوذ برب الناس مالك الناس إله الناس.
Perfect. MashaAllah. I'm going to stop you right there. MashaAllah, very, very nicely recited, student G2606. What I really like about your recitation is that you've given the right sound for each letter. So you've given a thick sound for the qaf, which is really good. And you've given the sound of the ayn from the middle of the throat. Because do you remember, ayn is one of our throat letters?
Yes.
Perfect. Now, the only thing I highlighted here was the ra, right? When we're saying the ra, we're going to give a slight round mouth, okay? If you would like to repeat after me. Bi-Rabbin nas.
Bi-Rabbin nas.
Well done. And this time you really gave the right sustained nasal sound here for a good 2 seconds, which was really good. At first, I thought you rushed it slightly, but that's absolutely fine. You recited it really well in the other two examples here. So is this an example of Ghunnah?
Yes.
Yeah, it sure is, because can you see it's a Nun Mushaddad, right?
Yes.
Is this a Ghunnah letter here?
No.
No, well done, because it's not Nun Mushaddad and it's not Mim Mushaddad, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Jazakumullah G2606 for coming to the mic. You've done a very, very good job at reciting the surah today.
Can my brother please have a turn?
What is your brother's ID?
G2613.
Okay, sure, you can have him on the mic. Is he there with you?
He has own device.
He's on his own device. Okay, that's fine. I'll call him now. Jazakumullah.
Okay. Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. G2613. Assalamu alaikum. G2613. Assalamu alaikum. Okay. So I'm asking you to unmute. Seems like you are not. That's fine. I'll try and call you later on, okay? Right, co-host, may I please have another student to the mic?
G2619, please.
Jazakumullah. G2619, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Did you understand the rule taught today?
Yeah.
Perfect. Do you know what the two Ghunnah letters are?
Nun Magunna, and I can't remember the last one.
Sorry, what was the first one that you just said?
Nun Magunna.
Okay. So Ghunnah is basically nasalization, okay? But there are two nasalization letters. Do you know what those letters are?
No.
Okay, no problem. So you've got a Nun Mushaddad. Can you see here?
Yeah.
And Mim Mushaddad is the second Ghunnah letter, okay? Now, would you like to start off with Ta'awud and Tasniya? And you can start reciting from this verse here for me.
Okay. Sorry. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay.
من شر وسوسة الناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس.
Okay, well done, mashallah. Very good attempt at reciting this. Would you like to recite after me, please?
Okay.
Okay, let's go together now. If you'd like to repeat after me. من شر وسواس الخناس. Perfect. Did you realize we were putting pressure on top of the noon?
Yeah.
We were giving a sustained nasal sound, and this is an example of ghunnah, okay? Ghunnah can only be done on Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Now let's carry on reading. الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس. And where can you see ghunnah in this example?
The nun.
Good, well done, well remembered. So here is the Nun Mushaddad, and there's the Fatha, and this is an example of ghunnah. Well done. Let's just recite our last verse. Minal jinnati wan nas. Well done, mashallah. Very, very nicely recited. G2619. Very well done. You've given a good try at reciting. What I will say is, try to slow down the speed when you're reciting the Holy Quran, okay? This way you get to read each and every letter properly, and you tend to not miss out any or eat up any of the letters in between. But mashallah, mashallah, you've done a very, very good job at reciting the given verses for me. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay, so in this surah, Surah An-Nas is an amazing surah. It's a great surah because it can show you many, many examples where ghunnah is included. Okay, so for example, at the end of every single verse, you can see there is an example of ghunnah, and I'm highlighting them all down for you now. There is not an example of Mim Mushaddad, but these are all examples of Nun Mushaddad. Now let's just quickly take a look and just remind ourselves of the 6 easy steps that we spoke about today in the PowerPoint, okay? So step number 1 was to identify the letter, the Mushaddad letter. Remember, Mushaddad means a letter that's got this little W sign on top. In this case, it's the Nun. Step number 2 is to find the most recent vowelled letter. In this case, the most recent vowelled letter is this ba, because it's got a kasra underneath. As you can see, we are ignoring all the letters in between because these letters are blank letters, okay? And these are not mutaharrik letters, they're not voweled, so we have to ignore them. And the most recent vowelled letter would be this ba, okay? At this point, you are ignoring the stroke underneath, okay? And you're simply just going to join the Nun and the ba together. So that's step number 3, to combine the Nun and the ba together. Step number 4 was to ask yourself, is this a Nun Mushaddad or a Mim Mushaddad? If it is, then we're going to give a sustained 2-second nasal sound, because that's what we do in the rule of nasalization. And in this case, it is indeed a Nun Mushaddad. So we are going to apply a rule of ghunnah here, and we're going to end up looking at the stroke on top of the Nun, okay? The stroke on top of the Nun is a fatha, and so we're going to join the letters together, and we're going to say bi rabbin الناس برب الناس. Okay, so this is the rule of nasalization that we went through today. Now it's time for us to take a look at the letter of the day, which is dal. Okay, now dal, when we say it, it should be given a 5-second timing, but we don't really tend to do that nowadays, because who sits down and says dal for a good 5 seconds? But the right way of saying dal is by prolonging the word, the letter for 5 seconds. Now dal has got no dots on top. As you can see, it's got no dots, and it is able to join to the previous letter. So dal can join to the letter before. However, it can never join to the next letter. So it will never merge or join on to the next letter. For example, here we have dal. If dal is placed at the beginning of a word, if it's the initial letter, we said it can't join to the next letter. The next letter here is alif. And as you can see, the dal is not joining onto the alif. Okay, so this is a good example to show how the next letter cannot join to the dal. However, if dal is in the middle, it is able to join to the letter before. We said it can join to the previous letter, didn't we? So dal is able to join to the previous letter. And even at the end here, this is how dal will look like if it comes at the end of a word. Okay, it would join to the previous letter, and this is how it will look. Okay, notice how previous letter joins to dal from the bottom. Okay, so when we're joining kha, it joins from the bottom here. When we're joining this mim, it joins from the bottom into the dal. Okay, so this is what our dal looks like when we are joining it to different letters. Remember, it cannot join to the letter afterwards. Now, the sound, as I say in all of the lessons, is to always make sure you're giving the correct sound. Okay, the right sound for dal is to get the tip of the tongue and touch the junction of the front two upper teeth and gums. Dal. Okay, so try saying that. Dal. Get the tip of your tongue and place it behind your top teeth on the gums. Okay, dal. We're talking about sort of like the roof of the mouth, but closer to the teeth. Dal. All right. So this was our letter of the day. And let's take a look if we had this letter appear in Surah An-Nas. So it looks like it didn't come in Surah An-Nas, but take a look. This letter is dal. It's got a dot on top. Remember, dal has got no dots on top. So this is how you should distinguish between a dal and a dal. Okay? Now, for the next part of the lesson, we are going to carry on with our practicing. Let's now look at Surah Al-Bayyinah quickly. Fighting? Okay. So, co-host, may I please have a student to the mic?
Yep, could we have G2656?
Perfect. Student G2656, Assalamu alaikum. G2656, Assalamu alaikum.
Oops. Okay, one more try. G2656.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay. Oh, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, how are you doing today, G2656?
G2659.
Okay, you are G2659. Okay, that's
Yeah.
all right. How are you doing today?
Good. I might have accidentally spelt my name wrong.
Okay, I'm just trying to find you, please.
And I'm good. How are you?
I'm good as well, thank you. Jazakumullah for asking. Okay, so you are G2659, yes?
I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so you are G2659, yes?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Have you been understanding the rule today?
I can't hear you.
Okay, G2659, it seems like there is some background distraction, which is why you're unable to hear me properly. Can you hear me at the moment?
I think we should carry on to another student. Could try again later.
That would be great. Jazakumullah.
G2636.
G2636. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Have you been understanding the rules so far
Yeah.
of nasalization?
Uh-huh.
Perfect. If I was to ask you what the two nasalization letters were, would you be able to tell me?
Nun and Mim.
Perfect. Well done. So it's Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad. Okay, now would you like to start off with the Awud and Tasniya, and I will lead you into the recitation for this surah, okay?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Well done, mashallah. Here we go. If you'd like to repeat after me. لم يكن الذين
لم يكن الذين.
Well done. What does the Lam Mushaddad have on top?
A tashdid.
Yep, so this one here is a tashdid. And what does the tashdid have on top?
A dhamma kasra of fatah.
Yeah, so it's a fatha, this one, yeah? How long should you prolong a fatha for?
1 second or 1 count.
Good, well done, well remembered. So when you're joining the lam to the noon, make sure you're giving the lam just a 1 second timing, okay? لِلَّذِينَ
لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ مُنْفَكِّينَ حَتَّى تَأْتِيَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَةُ.
Well done, mashallah, very nicely recited. Now let's take a look at just two things together, okay?
Okay.
You reminded me before of this sign here. Can you tell me what this sign is again?
A tashdid.
Perfect. Do you know what we should do if there is a tashdid on top of a letter?
You should combine the letters before it.
Perfect, well done. Make sure that the letter we are combining it with is a vowel letter, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. And whenever we see a tashdid, we should press on top of the letter. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know what this sign here is?
It is a sukoon.
Good, well done. You're very good at remembering stuff. Now, this is a sukoon. What is the job of the sukoon?
When you to connect each other, but
Yeah, you're on the right lines there. Well done. So the job of the sukoon is to join letters together. Now, the real question people ask is that if sukoon and tashdid are both used to join the letters together, then why are they two different signs? What is the difference between the two?
because once you've if you have a sukoon, once you've joined it, you don't recite. You don't just like pronounce a fatha, kasra, or dhamma. And
Yeah.
if you have a tashdid, you will connect, but then pronounce either a dhamma, fatha, or kasra.
Good. And in this case, it's not a fatha dhamma kasra only. It's
A
actually
vertical fatha.
a vertical fatha. So that also includes it as well. Well done. With the sukoon, there is no sort of fatha dhamma kasra on top or underneath, or any vertical kasra, vertical fatha or inverted dhamma. It's just a sukoon. And the main difference between the two is that with a sukoon, you just lightly join the letters together. But with a tashdid, you have to press on top of the letter, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the difference between the two. Mashallah, you have understood the rule pretty well, and I'm very, very impressed with how you can apply all of the rules, the understanding of the rules to the verse that you just recited today. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic, G2636.
I have a question.
Yes.
On Friday, whenever we have the breakout rooms,
Yeah.
I join it, but then it just like the screens are black.
The screen is black. Okay. Do you know what room you join? The room number?
I think I joined room 7.
Okay, that's fine. What I'll do is I'll message the in charge and I'll get that sorted out for you, okay? Just to confirm, that's G2636, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. That's okay. Jazakumullah G2636.
Bye.
If we don't get in contact with you quickly enough or very soon, or maybe it's delayed, then you can just email us, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic today. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, may I please have another student to the mic?
Yes, G2508.
Jazakumullah. G2508. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How are you doing today?
I'm really good. What about you?
I'm really good as well. Jazakumullah for asking. So have you been understanding the rules so far?
Yeah.
Perfect. What are the two GHUNNAH letters?
What?
Do you know the two GHUNNAH letters that we just spoke about today?
Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad.
Yes. Okay, so it's Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad. Now, if you'd like to start off with the Ta'awud and Tasmiyah, and then I'll lead you into the recitation, okay?
Okay. Ta'awuzu billahi shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Well done. Now, if you'd like to repeat after me. Rasulum minallahi.
Rasulun minallahi.
Yatlu
Yatlu
suhufam
suhufam
mutahharah.
tahara.
Good. Well done, mashallah. Now let's take a look at this verse together. Yes?
Yes.
Now, what letter is this here?
Mim Mushaddad.
Good. Well done. It's Mim Mushaddad. Are we going to be applying our rule of GHUNNAH here?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Good. Now, the main steps to think about is you need to identify the Mushaddad letter, which is this letter. You need to identify the vowel letter, which is this letter here, since it's got the Dhammatain on top. You combine the letters together, but when you're combining, you need to think, is it a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad? Okay? Is it a Mim or a Nun Mushaddad?
Mim Mushaddad.
Yes. So do you give a 2-second Ghunnah nasal sound? Do you give a 2-second nasal sound?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So when we're saying Rasulum minallahi, we are putting pressure on top of the noon and we are giving a 2-second nasal sound. We need to do this for at least 2 seconds, okay? Hold on to the meme, yeah?
Yeah.
In this part here, where else can you find an example of Ghunnah? So where else can you see a Noon or Mim Mushaddad?
Next to the fa.
Good, well done. So here's the fa and here is the Mim Mushaddad. So here we are going to be applying the rule of Mim Mushaddad as well. Okay. Do you know the difference between a Mim Mushaddad, a Mushaddad letter and a Sakin letter? G2508. Okay, 2 seconds. Okay, G2508, are you there?
Yes.
Perfect. So do you know the difference between a mushaddad and a sakin letter?
Yes.
Okay, what's the difference between them?
So, is it when you...
Okay, no problem at all. So with the mushaddad letter, you press on it, right? You put pressure.
Yeah.
The sakin letter, you just lightly join them together. There's no pressure being put on the sakin letters, okay?
Okay.
So that's
Yes.
done for you. This is the rule of GHUNNAH. Mashallah, you've done a really good job at following me and trying to answer the questions accordingly. However, I do want you to practice the rule of GHUNNAH a bit more in your free time, okay?
Okay.
Right. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic today. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. So, Alhamdulillah, today we managed to complete the rule of nasalization. And this rule is also referred to as ghunnah, okay? In Arabic, we know it's sustained nasal sound, and we have to give it at least for 2 seconds. Make the sustained nasal sound for at least 2 seconds, okay? We know that ghunnah only occurs on the Mim Mushaddad and the Nun Mushaddad. So you would have noticed that every single time a student came to the mic, I always asked them, what are the 2 ghunnah letters? What are the 2 ghunnah letters? And this is why, because I want you all to realize that it's just the Mim Mushaddad and the Nun Mushaddad we are talking about when we are talking about the rule of nasalization, okay? So it's very, very important that you ask yourself that very important question. Is it a Mim Mushaddad or a Nun Mushaddad? And if it is, you will do ghunnah. Okay, what is ghunnah? It's nasalization, which is the rule that we covered today. So ghunnah is literally just like the shteed, but the only difference is that with the ghunnah, it's got a special case of Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad and giving the correct sustained nasal sound. We also went through chapter 114. Alhamdulillah, we completed Surah An-Nas, which is basically this last surah of the Holy Quran. And we also managed to recite the first 2 verses of Surah Al-Bayyinah. Okay, so I will ask you guys as part of your homework to go over these 2 surahs as much as you can in your daily recitations as well. The letter that we went through was the letter Dal. Okay, and the letter Dal, we know the sound comes from the tip of the tongue when it touches the junction of the front 2 upper teeth and gums. So we're saying just behind the top 2 teeth, the middle 2 teeth that you've got in the top part, upper teeth, right? Just right behind that where the gum is, that's where you're pressing the tip of your tongue to say the word, to say the letter Dal. Okay, and you can find more on this rule on pages 134 and 137 in the Talimul-Quran. Okay, as part of your homework, you have all been asked to practice and apply the rules of ghunnah in your tilawat, but not just ghunnah, actually everything that you've learned so far. So fatha, dhamma, kasra, short strokes, long strokes, tanveen, all of these rules that you have learned so far need to be applied to your daily recitation. You have to make sure that you look at all the rules that you have revised so far, and you need to most importantly look out for Mim Mushaddad and Nun Mushaddad, because that's what we went through today. Okay, so make sure you do that for us. Make sure to practice as much as you can, because the only way to succeed or the only way to improve is through practice. Okay, so practice as much as you can, and inshallah you will get there very, very soon. Now, as always, we're going to conclude our class today with a closing prayer. If I can please request the co-host to call a student to the mic.
G2506.
Jazakumullah. G2506. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah, and you?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Did you understand the rule that was taught today?
Yes.
Good. Do you know what the 2 ghunnah letters are?
Yes.
What are they?
Mim and Nur.
Good. In particular, we're saying Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know what a Nun Mushaddad is?
Nun Mushaddad is GHUNNAH.
Yes, well done. So Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad are Gunnah, but in particular, Nun Mushaddad is known as a Noon that's got a Shadda or a Tashdid on top. And Mim Mushaddad is Mim with a Tashdid on top. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mushaddad is just a word, it's just a name to remind us that it's got a Tashdid on top. But well done, mashallah, that was very rightly answered. Now, would you like to start off with Ta'awud and Tasmiyah, and then inshallah I will lead you into the recitation, okay?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Well done, mashallah. If you'd like to repeat after me. Allahumma arhamni.
Allahumma arhamni.
Bil-Qur'an al-Azim.
Bil-Qur'an al-Azim.
Waj'alhu li.
Waj'alhu li.
Imaman wa.
Imaman wa.
Nuran wa.
Nuran wa.
Hudan wa rahmah.
Hudan wa rahmah.
Well done, mashallah. Very nicely recited. Just before we go on to reading the English translation, did you realize what was here?
Yes.
What was here?
Mim GHUNNAH.
Good. Mim Mushaddad. And what do we do over here?
We do GHUNNAH.
Good. Well done, mashallah. Well spotted. Now, if you'd like to read out the English translation for me.
Oh Allah, have mercy on me for the Quran the Great. And make it for me, the leader, the light, the kindness, and the mercy.
Mashallah. Very nicely recited, G2 506. Jazakumullah for coming to the mic today. Take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay, so that was it for today's class, everybody. Make sure as part of your homework, you do a lot of practice. Make sure you're looking out for all the rules that have been learned so far. And also make sure that you apply the understanding and rule of Ghunnah, okay? A good way to remember the Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad is to find a surah and try and pick out where Nun Mushaddad and Mim Mushaddad is found, okay? So that's a great fun task for you so that it doesn't get too boring. But make sure to recite the Quran daily and apply the understandings so that you can improve as much as possible. But Jazakumullah to everybody for arriving to the class today. Hopefully this class was beneficial for you all. Make sure to do the homework, and we hope to catch you all in another class soon. Until then, take care of yourself. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.